A pair of free throws by point guard Greg Anthony had just extended the Knicks' lead to 105-99, and Madison Square Garden was already in celebration mode. Fans were high-fiving, some were heading for the exits, and the Pacers faithful, they could feel it. Defeat wasn't just knocking on the door, it was kicking it down. Indiana's general manager Donnie Walsh was so convinced it was over that he locked himself in a room, lit a cigarette, and tried to process yet another season slipping away, and honestly, who could blame him? The Knicks had tormented the Pacers for years. In 1993, Indiana was a rising team, only to be sent packing by the Knicks in the first round. In 1994, they clawed their way to the Eastern Conference Finals, took a 3-2 series lead, and still lost in a brutal Game 7. And now, 1995, looked like a rerun of the same nightmare. This wasn't just another loss. This was history repeating itself. But while the world thought it was over, one man didn't. Reggie Miller. On the bench, Miller wasn't frustrated, he wasn't panicking, he wasn't even talking. The most talkative player in the league had gone silent. Too silent. It was almost like he knew something the rest of us didn't. He turned to Pacers point guard Mark Jackson and said 5 words. Go for the quick 3. And then, nothing. The timeout ended. Miller wiped his brow with his white wristband. The Knicks defense stood waiting, locked in formation. A 6-point deficit with 18.7 seconds remaining in the mid-90s. That was a death sentence. You needed 3 scores, multiple defensive stops, and a miracle. And to make things worse, Miller was struggling. He was 1 for 5 from three-point land and 4 for 11 from the field. He had barely made an impact all game. The Knicks thought they had him figured out. But what they didn't realize, they weren't just up against Reggie Miller the player. They were up against Reggie Miller the revolution. See, when Miller entered the NBA in 1987, the three-pointer was basically a gimmick, a trick shot, not a strategy. Larry Bird, one of the greatest shooters ever, held the all-time record with just 357 career threes. Now, if Steph Curry doesn't hit that in a season, people start asking, is he in a slump? Back then, offenses had 2 options to creating scoring chances. 1, a point guard attacking the paint, forcing defenders to collapse, or 2, a big man posting up, demanding double teams. And spot-up shooters? They were an afterthought. They waited. They relied on someone else to create for them. But Miller? He didn't wait. He wasn't a shooter who needed to be set up. He was the system. His movement was relentless, zigging, zagging, sprinting off screens, looping defenders in circles. Defenses weren't just reacting to him, they were panicking. Most shooters needed perfect conditions, feet set, wide open, rhythm intact. Miller? Didn't matter. Fading? Bucket. Off balance? That's money. Coming around a screen at full speed? Splash. He wasn't just taking threes. He was forcing teams to completely rethink how they defended them, and now, with seconds ticking down, the Knicks were about to learn that lesson the hard way. The crowd held its breath. The moment was here. Reggie sets a back screen, cuts to the near side wing, gets perfect pass from Jackson, pivots toward the hoop, knockdown 3. Knicks 105, Pacers 102. Alright, fine. A big shot. Knicks ball, 3-point lead, and all they had to do was inbound the ball, and Greg Anthony fell. Or did Reggie push him? Either way, the ball ended up in Miller's hands. He had a wide open lane for an easy layup, but no, Reggie was built for this. 1 dribble back, more perfect footwork, and bang, another 3. Game tied at 105. Madison Square Garden, once deafening, dead silent. Except for one voice, Spike Lee screaming at the courtside seats. For those who don't know, Spike Lee isn't just a Knicks fan. He is the Knicks fan. A legendary filmmaker, but on game nights, he is New York's hype man, sitting courtside taunting opposing players like he's part of the team. And if there was one player he loved to trash talk, Reggie Miller. So when Miller tied the game, he didn't just turn to his teammates, he turned straight to Spike. Talking, staring him down, letting him know this wasn't over. But the Knicks still had a chance, a golden one. They get the ball to John Starks, a solid free throw shooter. The Pacers mistakenly fouled immediately, giving Starks a golden opportunity to put the Knicks ahead. Starks heads to the line. He just needs one to regain the lead. Brick. Okay, one more shot. You know he's not missing two in a row. Brick. Now it's chaos. A mad scramble for the rebound. Patrick Ewing, the face of the Knicks franchise, snags the board. This is it. He goes up for the putback. Another brick. And guess who comes up with the board? Reggie Miller. And compounding on the missed free throws, Starks fouls Reggie. This is it. Reggie had been here before. 12 for 13 from the line that night. The Knicks knew what was coming. First free throw? Good. Second? Money. Pacers, 107. Knicks, 105. One last chance for New York. No timeouts. They inbound the ball and disaster strikes. Greg Anthony trips, loses control. No shot attempt. No miracle. Game over. The Pacers stole game one in 8.9 seconds. Madison Square Garden, stunned. Spike Lee, he was speechless. The Knicks were broken. New York never recovered. Indiana would go on to win the series in 7, finally taking down their biggest rival. Reggie Miller didn't just hit shots that night. He rewrote Knicks' playoff nightmares. Was it the greatest clutch moment in NBA history? Well, ask Spike Lee. If you're a Knicks fan, my bad for making you relive that trauma. If you're a Pacers fan, you're welcome. Either way, thanks for reliving one of the best NBA moments from my childhood with me. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button, and if you love NBA content like I do, check out the 2025 NBA trade deadline reaction video that we put up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.